Gulam Zia, who's the Senior Executive Director at Knight Frank India. Thank you so much for taking time out this afternoon and joining us. I wanted to get a sense of what you think about the latest developments in the MMR region. First things first, let's talk about DLF Home Developers' latest expansion, the pace of project launches as well. What do you make of this entire pace as well as the latest development?
Hi, it's a pleasure to join you on this show. First of all, since we spoke about Mumbai, let's take a macro perspective of what's happening in Mumbai. Last couple of quarters for pan-India home markets are not very encouraging because there are there are talks of market stabilizing, if not starting the downslide. I would say we would need to wait for a couple of more quarters to convincingly talk about the state of market. But last quarter or two have been pretty flat. And especially in Mumbai, there is a segment of market which is actually showing clear signs of fatigue, which is ticket size of apartments ranging from 20 crores to 50 crores is one range in which there's a lot of inventory come in and the velocity of sales is disturbing. It is going to take you about 4 to 5 years to sell that inventory. So that is one category which I am worried about. However, that said, the other categories, 10 to 15 odd crores or 5 to 10 crores are such segments where inventories are going pretty in tandem with the velocity of sales. So not much to worry about. You will perhaps sell all your inventories within 2 to 2.5 years, which is a healthy sign. Now coming specifically to this market of western suburbs called Andheri. Now, this is I would say, upper middle class kind of a market where your ticket sizes are going to be between 5 to 10 crore. So overall, market-wise, not much of a problem. As I said, this is not going to take you much longer period to sell looking at the inventory levels. However, in this market, the competition is very stiff. Pretty much every name that you can think of, including the corporate developers, right from Godrej to Mahindras to Lodha to everybody that you can think of is there catering to this market. By the way, Andheri remains the most wide market of Mumbai. It's the land area is huge. And in that segment coming in, catering to that specific market, which has been actually catered to by multiple local developers, the competition is going to be extremely difficult. And as I said earlier, also you made this point, those developers who had actually real estate, let's face it, remains a very, very local kind of a business. And in there, the brands that you have made, the recognition you have got is also that way. So when you're coming into a market, you need to be cautious that you need to also time your projects well, because right now, if we go by the market buzz, if the market is reaching the peak, then once again, next year and a half or two will be the acid test. So overall, the timings, in my view, is not wrong. Is the competition which I would be more worried about.
Well, absolutely. That just about sums it up. It's a very important point that you brought up there, the competitive landscape. I'd like to talk about that a little more. Tell us about why you think more players are currently entering this market. And what do you think is going to happen next? Because you've correctly pointed out how there's a lot of competition in this space. Can it lead to a case of oversupply once the real estate cycle really turns?
Well, that's the exact point I was trying to drive across when I highlighted the cycle portion. That's what my biggest worry is, that everybody is saying that we have already reached the 12 o'clock position on the property clock. But is that a truth is what I am worried about, because at least in my view, in our view, our house view is that we haven't reached that position. We still have some way to go before we hit the peak. But if at all we do really reach that position, then the inventory in this market is what I am worried about. It's going to be huge. And mind you, the project size itself that we're talking about, 17 odd acres, itself is huge. Well, one thing which I'm not unduly worried about is because of the slums, etc. Not too much, because Mumbai is, it exists. High-end and mid-end projects and as well as slums coexist together. So which is not so much of a worry. But in my specific view, one plus point is that this is where the metro culmination is happening. The project location that we're talking about, a metro and the JVLR connect, which is coming into Lokhandwala, is going to cater to this. And in my view, by the time this project comes for execution or when people start living here, You will have a brand new infrastructure. And let's also not forget the Warsaw-Bandra link will also be ready. So those who are going to be staying over here will have an access to Nariman Point in not more than half an hour, 45 minutes, which mind you currently takes you at least an hour and a half. So huge benefit also there. Whatever said and done, my problem remains huge inventory that is going to kick in to this specific market. But the appetite of market always surprises us. So I would say let's wait and watch.
All right, now that we've zoomed in on the fine print when it comes to this particular market, I also wanted to zoom out, take a look at the bigger picture as well, because the regulatory reforms and stamp duty payment rules are different across states. You have MMR versus other states, and that's also some sort of comparison that I'd like to talk about. Other than that also, is there any key differentiator that you'd like to highlight when it comes to MMR versus the other states?
Well, MMR has always been on top of the deck in terms of apartments sold. Like last year, we saw almost about 100,000 apartments sold in the island city. Let me focus on island city because MMR is huge. So MMR has actually been doing kind of transactions which are the best in the country. However, something which we have observed in last couple of quarters is that the numero uno position as far as luxury market is concerned is gradually Mumbai is losing out here. Delhi has emerged, and as you're talking to Mr. Ori a short while back, DLF and Delhi have created a new luxury benchmark in Delhi. And that's where the position that Mumbai enjoyed for decades has actually gone. The number of apartments sold in that category, which is 50 crore plus, has been the highest in Delhi for last 2-3 consecutive quarters. And that's a big change. However, in terms of regulatory environments, I don't think there's much of a difference. While Mumbai still collects about, I would say, 1 or 2% extra stamp duty for infrastructure cess, metro cess, etc. But that said, that's a money which is actually accruing back to you by way of better infrastructure. And you can see it. In last 5-7 years, we have seen a huge improvement in infrastructure. In the next 5 years is going to be really the biggest change for the existence of Mumbai you will be facing in next 5 years. So if you are contributing by paying a percent or two of extra of stamp duty, it's coming back to you. So net, I would say not much difference as far as regulatory perspective is concerned. It's ultimately the market, the buyers. The buyer segment is pretty unique in Mumbai. Maximum amount of wealth created over here due to equity markets, due to financial capital. That's what Mumbai is known as. So the buyers have deeper pockets compared to the rest of the country. So you have good sales of the mid to upper end of the market in Mumbai.
Yeah, point taken. So that just about sums it up, right? When it comes to the competitive landscape, the latest development that we've talked about, and also the numero uno position, very interesting point that you brought up there. Thank you so much for taking time out and joining us this afternoon.
My pleasure.